Hi, friends. Host Eric here, host Talking with Fan People. I'm here to tell you feelings are the enemy of meaning. If you're trying to express your feelings to me, I'm probably going to ask you, well, what what do you mean? Like, so what's your goal here? Why are you telling me this? What do you want me to do? Or what do you think ought to be done? Or, you know, frame this prescriptively for me. Are you complaining? Are you asking for something? Or what? You know? You're just making observations. I get confused when there are observations about my feelings or apparent lack thereof. Uh, are difficult to talk about, right? The thing is, of course, there's this weird hypocrisy that ENTPs or ESTPs, FI polar people have. So we insist that you have a clear thing that you want and know what it is and will tell us what it is. We don't ever want to take on that job ourselves of being the one who clearly knows what they want. And we'll tell the other person what it is, usually. A lot of things we don't really have a clear understanding of what we want. So I guess Rachel's been feeling a little emotionally disconnected from me the last couple of days because I'm fresh onto a bottle of Addy. That may have been a contributing factor in her being a little bit fussy yesterday. But I mean, my point is, it's totally fine if she's fussy. And the challenge for me is if there's something being expressed that seems like fussiness, then I'm going to want to understand exactly what the fussiness is about and the extent to which I need to behave differently, or either that or whether the other party asking me like, okay, I'd like you to behave differently or something, so that there's some purpose to the communication. Now, of course, feelings are purposeful in and of themselves. They're an absolute value. You don't need to have a reason to feel good for feeling good to be a good thing. But if you're communicating about your feelings rather than experiencing them, then presumably that communication is purposed in some sense. Rachel indicated last night that sometimes she's just looking for patterns. She's making a note of a pattern she's observed without any kind of prescriptive or normative judgment or anything like that. Well, I'm not sure. I don't think either Rachel or I is very good at correctly identifying, naming, expressing our feelings. Um, I have theories to explain. This is weird. Other weird thing about feelings is, so they're not the sort of things you normally have to justify at all. But if you're expressing any kind of negative feelings, then I'm gonna again come back to the purpose of it. Like, okay, well, why are you expressing these? And not least like this teleological frame where it's like, okay, well, you must have some purposeful intention for expressing these. And oftentimes, um, it's not so much a purposefully or intended thing. It's maybe fussiness about unrelated stuff spilling over. It may be fussiness is not warranted or justified, and so the person expressing or displaying feelings that um, they themselves ultimately won't take seriously, and so they don't expect you to take them seriously. So it's hard to deal with feelings when Rachel and I had such difficulty communicating last night because I was trying to pin her down on meaning something specific, and she didn't like that. So she stresses unnecessarily. Nothing to stress about. We're making problems where there are none. It's like one of the glorious gifts of this relationship is that it resolves all my questions about relationships. Namely, is this the right person? You have to, it's like I like to know that we're on the same page as we are about just about everything. We seemed to be on different pages last night a little bit, but I link that to our polars. I got a little frustrated with her and her polar the night before, and yesterday she got a little frustrated with me and my polar. There's this weird kind of blindness, I mean, it's called your blind spot for a reason, that causes a person to constantly conflate your polar with something else. So when she talks about FI, for example, I treat it as, and my response is treating it as though it were FE or TE or something else. When I try to pin it down, I say, okay, well, then it's not FE or TE. Then fine, it's just your FI. That's what you want, what you authentically feel, right? Well, no, I'm just noting a pattern. Well, come on now. I mean, if you don't want to justify it because it's just a feeling, fine. You don't need to justify anything. It may be the case that I need to change my behaviors. I need to be one who adapts. But then the problem with that for Rachel is that requires her to then be making demands of some sort. And she doesn't want to do that because she's a sane person. Sane people don't want to do that. They don't want to impose on others and make demands and cause things to be difficult. Let me pull a bowl. I've been messing around with music a lot. I'm pretty confident about my new thing is going to come out good eventually once I do all the necessary legwork to realize it in a fashion that's closer to its optimal state or ideal or true identity. Oh, big yawns for little Eric. Such big yawns. Who's a big yawner pants? It's me. I'm a big yawner pants. I'm streaming and premiering at the same time, huh? Oh, well. Sorry, I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that. Sign language. With my brain, I forgot about that. I'm a real person, Blair. Are you a real person, Blair? Is one of the biggest questions everybody should ask themselves constantly. Let me smoke this bowl now. Otherwise, I'll have excessive yawning forever. Yeah, so last night's little, I don't even know what to call that thing that happened between me and Rachel. It wasn't really a fight. It was an inability to communicate. But it was odd. It was an odd experience. Because, see, she's not an FI user and she's not an FI valuer, really willfully, explicitly, consciously. So she's a counter valuer. So we're trying to pin her down on what she means. She's not really able to provide anything. She's not really sure what she's feeling, if anything, about it. She's just inaying. And I guess I think it's probably most meaningful to link it back to the Prime Directive, that because the way I interact with her changes where I am in the cycle, it causes map territory disagreement. And of course, nobody likes that. So, how you interact with somebody for stretches of time will set precedent, such that people will potentially say, hey, there's a problem. But it's not that there's a problem with how you're behaving, it's that you're behaving differently than they expected. What to expect when you're expecting to be swallowed by a whale is a really popular book for people about to be swallowed by whales. Let me smoke this bowl now. How many barrels of monkeys equal one Swedish fish? I'm not sure it requires even an entire barrel of monkeys to make one Swedish fish. I am very much struck, however, by the evolution analogy of that guy, David Berlinski. And it's a bad analogy, ultimately, because, well, they say all analogies break down at some point. I'm not sure that's the case if you're clean on the analogizing. But that one kind of does. But I like it anyway. It says that the basic concept of evolution says that you've got a bunch of monks in medieval times, and they're making hand copies of books. Now, in those various hand copies of books, sometimes there are mistakes made. They copy the wrong word over, or make a typo or whatever. Evolution tries to make the claim that that's how Hamlet got written. It's so insane and ridiculous that that sometimes an analogy is the best way to drive that point home. I was thinking further about evolution and how it's representative of such a category error. Species definitionally don't change over time. That's the definition of the species. It's like, how do we know that this is a cat and not something else? Because it looks the same as all the other cats, and all the other cats, and it looked the same as cats have always looked and been. So that's how we know that's a species, because it is what it is and it stays what it is. The idea that a species could change over time would require a species to be a thing. A species is a set name that we have for individuals carrying the same genome as other individuals of the same species that they can mate with and stuff, right? But species itself is not a thing that can change any more than mammals can change. Mammal can't change. Mammal is a set name that includes everything that has certain attributes and excludes things that don't or have other exclusive attributes or something like that. It's like saying It's like saying that a book can change over time. So, Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway will always be Farewell to Arms. It's never going to be any other book. Even if there's other publishings of it that somehow make a typo or whatever, it will still remain Farewell to Arms. It's not going to continue to change over time. The reason is because it is what it is. Definitionally, it's that book and not something else. A species is a metaphor that emerges when we gather together a bunch of individuals who are the same as each other when compared against other individual animals. Yeah, it's crazy to even hypothesize the idea that species can change over time. The thing is, yes, it's true. We can adapt a species within a fairly plastic genome. So you can get Chihuahuas and Great Danes. You can get foxes that are friendly in Russia because they've bred just to domesticate, like the ones that aren't aggressive. But what would happen if you let them all out in the wild and let them deal with themselves? There would be a natural return to the mean. Species not only don't change over time, they resist change over time and return to the mean. Species don't change in response to mutations. Species eradicate mutations to keep the genome clean. Everything people assume is the case about evolution is not only false, but patently absurd, definitionally impossible. Conflating metaphor for description. It's an argumentational nightmare of epic proportions. Nobody even knows what it is they're claiming anymore. It's like nobody can tell me what evolution is claiming. Nobody can explain it to me. Oh, species, we're here because of evolution. Evolution happened, huh? So what is evolution? Most people who use the term, almost everybody uses the term, is referring to Darwinian evolution or some sort of variant of that. The truth is, no evolutionary scientists put any credence into Darwinian evolution at all. In other words, the idea of natural selection, genetic mutation, reproductive advantage, all that shit have been tossed out the window a long time ago. That's what most people still think of as evolution, and they're strong proponents of it, even though they don't even know why or what they're proponents of. If you think that evolution involves things like natural selection, genetic mutation, and reproductive advantage, and you believe strongly in evolution, it's like that's not evolution in contemporary understandings of it. It doesn't resemble that at all. It's a bunch of dissembling to avoid answering any questions. I feel kind of lightheaded all of a sudden. I need some Coca-Cola or something to make me feel less sick. Oh, I feel awful. Hopefully it's passing. No. that's a little guitar rhythm I came up with tonight. It's pretty good. We'll see if it develops anything, but uh, you know, in the middle of working on one thing, I end up doing other things too. Like I also started. Not only did I play around with that idea until I got a good progression out of it, but also I started working on Siddhartha's Today, which is Corey's song that I want to record. Oh, this good progression. And Corey's song is this one. So that's too long of a loop. Siddhartha Today, Siddhartha side. Your body bright. There's a waking dreams. Siddhartha recoiled. I have to do the next part after that. So the next part goes. And then dun 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 dun. And the chorus just goes, Siddhartha recoiled, half his life. Siddhartha the royal had it right. Siddhartha the toil, not his back. Siddhartha Siddhartha, Siddhartha, where are you now? The fantasy is to have Siddhartha right in front of me. It's so good. I'm excited to record it. It should be a pretty easy recording operation, frankly. Just bass, drums, vocals, a couple vocal lines. I want to get Rachel to sing along with the call part of the call and response choruses. So it's like the call part goes, Siddhartha the royal, and then the response goes, had it right. Siddhartha recoiled, half his life. Siddhartha would toil, and his fight. Siddhartha Siddhartha. Anyway, it's gonna sound good when I'm done with it because it's like I said, it's an fairly easy production to do. I think it should be. It's a pretty straightforward song. It only has 2 parts. Plus a little turnaround. Pretty cool. Pretty damn intuitive, right? Such a great bass line. But why am I even awake right now? Why am I up? What's going on? I feel like I feel like a Where's that? What's that country next to Laos? Myanmar? I feel like a Myanmarian rice paddy farmer who's woken up and left his pagoda only to discover during the night it had relocated to a potato field. And thus is he confused by this occasion, by his arrival at the doorstep of his home from the inside. And instead of the warm, humid, and productive, fertile lands of South Asia, he finds himself in Ireland. He doesn't think there's anything to eat there at all because potatoes are where? They're hiding under the ground. It's easy to find things that are above the ground. You can see them with your eyes. But things that are under the ground are hidden by dirt. So if you want to see them, you're either going to have dirt ray vision or bring a shovel. Even if you did see them, how would you know they were edible if you were a rice farmer? As far as you know, all edible things are tiny little grains. There are no big round edible things. When you live in South Asia, you eat nothing but rice and other very small things like grains of sand, fleas. They eat a lot of fleas. They eat 0.05 millimeter lead, very small. They eat the small of the back, which is also very small. They're odd people. Their creatures or people alike are the same wherever you go. So, here I am in Los Angeles. All the animals are obviously Los Angeles animals. They have the same attitude about the subway as Los Angeles people do. My kitty is an expert Angelino and was given the key to the city by the kitty mayor of Kitty Los Angeles. He said, upon presenting her the key, he said, "Oh, Capillo, you are the true kitty patty owner and our proudest child of Los Angeles." And she said, "Well, meow, thank you very meow." And the mayor said, "You're well, meow." And Capillo said, "You mean welcome?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I forgot we don't use meow in that one." "Yes, you did forget," said Pee-Pee. "I forgot about the kitty language conventions. You signed the Helsinki Protocols, which guaranteed that you would adhere to all the meow rules that I made, no matter how arbitrary or ill-advised. So you can only be harshly and sternly critiqued for your failure to adhere to your offer of something. Man, this is the end. My only friend, the end. Would you like me to tell you a bedtime story? I'm kind of feeling like bedtime. I gotta pee though. Maybe I'll come over here and tell you a bedtime story. All good bedtime stories begin with once upon a time. That's when stories occur. Stories occur once upon a time. Odd construction. Once. Why just not once? Why do you need the upon a time? Once upon. Once amidst. Once amidst. Thereafter. Once amidst thereafter, Fabian encountered many dangers. Fabian. Fabian encountered many dangers. Is a good sentence. That's a fine English language sentence. Fabian encountered many dangers. It really makes you wonder what kind of dangers he encountered, doesn't it? It makes me wonder. What sort of dangers would a guy named Fabian normally encounter? I would expect him to encounter dangers associated with like serving organic non-dairy meat someplace. Fabian. Oh, urination. Sweet, spectacular urination. Relieve from me the pressure of your uriny ways. You've occupied my bladder too long now. It's time for you to leave. Make forth your exit. Forthwith. Godspeed. Zounds. Zounds, I say. I don't say zounds enough. It's a word I really make better use of. Zounds. Zounds, it's Zandy. It's always nice to see Zandy. I had no idea she was married, though. I thought she was with an Indian warrior of some kind named Exochilt. Fabian Exochilt. Fabian Miercocles lab coat Exochilt. INFPs will unsubscribe from what? This channel? Oh no. For why? Why are they unsubscribing? What did I do? That's fine. You can't not offend INFPs or right. You can not offend ISFPs pretty well. They're pretty cool. It's not possible to not offend INFPs. They're born to be offended by things. I mean, no offense, INFPs, but you feel like, hey, the feels, the tender moistures, they're super important. Don't go chasing waterfalls unless you're gonna throw enough skin into the game to make it worth my while. You know what I'm saying? Cloud, I've got some words of wisdom for you. I want you to write this down. Okay. Please don't go chasing waterfalls. There's no point. Why would you chase a waterfall? First of all, it's not going anywhere, right? It's in one location. As soon as you chase it, you're chasing the water. You're missing the point here about a waterfall. Waterfall is not the water that comprises the fall, so much as it is the drop in elevation, the sudden drop in elevation from a higher spot to a lower spot, such that the water cascades in an appealing fashion as it passes over that spot. So you can't chase a waterfall. It's like saying, don't go chasing your acre of land. I mean, doesn't make acre of lands don't run away. I mean, acres of land. Hectares do, but not acres. Wow, I'm tired. I am pushing forward through a haze of, I've got hosteric collapse syndrome. What does hosteric collapse syndrome look like? Well, it's an onset of very jerky being, such that very easy to lose my train of thought and hard to complete a sentence without pausing unnecessarily in the middle of the sentence. I lose my fluidity in some sense. But you know what I say about that, Cloud? I say, fuck my fluidity. That's what I say. I'm going to end this live stream. And who knows? Maybe I'll start another live stream called Bedtime Stories, or maybe I just go to bed.